Oh, I just wanted to take a moment to show you this delightful little game from a whiles back called Demonwand. I'm in the middle of playing the game now, and I was a bit sceptical when I first picked it up recently. But as I said, I'm finding it delightful, a real fun game, and I'm just going to take a moment to show you what it's about, just a sort of quick overview. I'll hopefully do this in about half an hour maximum. The story is that I've just come back, or we've just come back from a 2-week holiday. We went to Lapland and then to Bristol in the UK. And back in the UK, which is where I'm from, I had the chance to pick up some of my old games and pack some more up to bring over here. This was one that I managed to throw into our suitcases. And I want to show it to you guys now because what it tells me is that although these days people may be able to invent lots of interesting and more ingenious procedures in their games than you may have found in games from the 1970s, 1980s, even 1990s. Although we may have these more ingenious procedures, it doesn't mean that a simple concept game such as this cannot provide ingenious play for the players, and that's what I'm finding here. So that's just a quick introduction. I'm going to then introduce the game and then tell you something about the play of it. The game is called Demonwand, and it is by the veritable Steve Jackson. Now, it's a magazine game. I believe it came in the magazine Space Gamer. I don't know which issue, and I'm pretty sure it came in Space Gamer. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly when, because as you can see, I pulled it out of the magazine, and I have not I might have retained the magazine, but in some other storage position. So the game, what's it about? Well, you can see it hasn't got many rules. They're quite written quite small type. Oops, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages of rules. Half of that page is advanced rules. That's basically giving certain characters magic items. You have the contents here, so you have the map, that's the map, then you have the characters. The characters are detailed here. You have everybody has a castle, it's for 2 to 4 players, everybody has a wizard, then there's dragons, demons, giants and heroes, and here are the red characters. So you have the demon here. He has a strength of 2, movement of 5, and each counter is individually named. So although the icons are the same, you have the demon satyr and the demon furfur. And you can imagine that's a lot of names that they came up with for 4 players. Then you have the heroes, strength of 3, movement of 4, giants, strength of 3, strength of 6, movement of 3, and the dragons, strength of 5. They can move 10 movement points or 7 movement points if they're carrying another character. They cannot carry giants, they're a bit too big. And finally, you have the wizard. They have a strength of 10 but a movement of only 1, so they're going to want to move around a lot on the dragons. Then the other counters you have in the game are these funky terrain hexagons. They are forests on one side, and I won't turn it over, mountains on the other side. The reason why I won't turn it over is because, unfortunately, it being a magazine game, the counters were printed on, that's actually too thin cardstock in the magazines, and they're really flimsy. You could actually, if you had the magazine punched back the character counters first, you can't back the terrain counters. You might be able to photocopy them and put a copy on the back. That would be well possible. And finally, everyone has a castle. You set up, you take it in turns. Oh no, first you have your wizard and your castle, and then you spend 20 strength points and buying characters that you wish, and then you take it in turns setting up your then you take into you have different variable terrains. You see there's on the map, there's these here's a part detailed on the map as a part of a winged serpent. Over here there's a gremlin. Now they're used for initial placement of terrain, so you have different types of terrain placement you can choose depending on your scenario. I chose one where we had mountains here and mountains here essentially. All the other terrain you can see was created, additional terrain was created by the wizards in the game, and that's the most ingenious part of it. There's more to it than that though, I'll get to that in a minute. So that's the characters, that's the map, that's the terrain. So you have characters, you have movement, you have combat, there's one combat results table, very simple. You have recruitment of neutrals. You can see on the map there are these white characters, they are neutral. There's exploration of terrain variance and victory, and then advanced rules and magic items. That's it. There's only three types of terrain if you count clear. So there's not a lot to forget. Then there's another interesting part to it, which is the gates. And as you can imagine, they're like teleport gates. So if you enter this gate, you can teleport to another gate of its same ilk there, sorry. So they have dots and stars, and you have them black or white, and then you have a central one which can go to any of them, and then you have these that can go to any starred one, and that can go to any dotted one. So you see that creates exciting opportunities for movement, and then the characters interrelate to the gates in certain ways. Essentially, the heroes are just basics, the giants are just basics, so they have attack and movement. The dragons, as I said, they can move other characters. And then the demons are extremely useful because although they're weak characters, what they can do is they can block a gate. So if they're standing on a gate, nobody can come through it. They can be attacked from outside the gate, but someone on another gate, essentially a gate is adjacent to its counterpart. So if you had a demon here, any fellows trying to come through here can be blocked. It's up to you, because you can also, in the 3 or 4 player game, you can also loan your characters to the other player, so you could have shifting alliances and so forth like that. I'm just playing it 2 player at the moment. I've got the reds versus the pale greens. And you see we have an exciting situation here, whereby the reds castle is underneath him there, and he'd set himself up tucked up against this mountain range, but he's under assailants from this wizard who's come from all the way over here with some of his fellows. He's got a couple of giants and a demon and a hero, I can't remember exactly what under there. They came through that gate. He was over here. He cast some mountains around them to try and hold them in. You cannot move over mountains except if you're a dragon, then you can fly over them. But they've come out through there, and so he's essentially, this might be his desperate last stand. He's moved most of his men into his castle. He's got 2 demons out here, and he's got some fellows out there that are trying to threaten the unprotected castle of his opponent there. But essentially he whizzed in 2 dragons underneath him. He's got a hero who was already in his castle, and he put some more mountains around himself as a defensive measure. That will only ever be a temporary defensive measure, because the opponent wizard, apart from being able to create terrain, you can also destroy it. But the twist with all that is that terrain costs a gradient point in casting depending on its range. So if the terrain is created in your hex or the one adjacent to you, it only costs 1 point. If it's in 2 or 3 hexes away, it costs 2 points. 4 or 5 hexes away, it costs 3 points, etc. So all the way down to hexes. If you create terrain in hexes 18 or 19 hexes away, it costs 10 points each time. But you start the game with 10 spell points, and you gain 2 each turn automatically, +2 if your wizard is in his castle, +1 for each demon you have. So having demons is good. Recruiting demons, because there's a lot of other characters scattered around neutral that you can recruit. Recruiting demons is good. Being in your castle has its benefits, but to recruit a character, you just go on it. It happens at the end of the turn. Essentially, you roll a die. On a 1, they are hostile to you and they go over to the other side. On a 2 to 3, they are neutral, and on a 4, 5, or 6, they go over to your side. A wizard can try and recruit anyone. A demon can only recruit demons. Dragons can only recruit dragons, so forth. If you have 2 or more people trying to recruit, so a wizard and say a hero could try and recruit that hero, they get a +1. If you don't recruit someone, if they remain neutral and then you try again the next turn, you get a -1 to the roll, so then they start getting irritated, more likely to go over to the other side. Another way that neutrals can convert into an enemy or your side is if you cast terrain underneath them, they get annoyed and they go over to the other side. So that's kind of, I think I've explained the game in a nutshell. That essentially is what's happening. The beginning game, you're going to be moving out from your castle trying to recruit fellows, while also probably staking various demons out in the gates near your castle so that opponents cannot whiz close to your castle with great ease. The victory conditions are essentially to be the last wizard surviving. If your castle is destroyed and it's destroyed by an opponent with characters worth 20 or more strength points being in it for a whole 1 turn, you cannot cast any more spells, so you cannot change the terrain. And that is the main ingenuity and the how the sort of main things happen in this game is creating and destroying terrain, because otherwise you just have a straightforward war game of recruit fellows, move and fight, and the fighting's just the CRT is just like this. So 1-to-1, on a 1 attacker killed, on a 6 defender killed, or on a 5 or a 2 attacker or defender, they either lose 1 character from a stack can be 4 characters maximum, or they all retreat 1 hex, and 3 or 4 is no effect. So it goes down 1 to 3 and it goes all the way up to 4 to 1, and any attacks greater than 4 to 1 automatic, defender killed. Anyway, so that's all you need to know about that. That's quite simple. So it would be fairly boring if it was just recruit, move, fight, and although the gates create interest because they create obviously focal points for defense or maneuver and surprise maneuvers. You could think of them like your helicopter transportation, mobile troop transportation these days, something like that. Anyway, but as you can see, creating the terrain is what creates excitement. You can block people. You can create a forest on a hex with characters, and those characters get lost, so essentially they cannot move the next turn after that. Then they're sort of place them above the forest and they can move off then. You cannot place forests or any terrain on a hex with a wizard, a hex with a gate, or where there's already other terrain. So your wizard is exempt from that. If you place mountains, as I said, no one can move through them except for dragons, which move over them. It costs them 2 movement points though, because they have to obviously fly high for that. Now, one more very interesting point is that you create terrain judged on a range from your wizard and his demons. So if you have you can send your demons through a gate, whiz them over near to your opponent, and then you have a reduced range for creating terrain. So they're kind of like your magical outposts. They're weak characters, but they're extremely useful. So I kind of gave each of these fellows kind of like a bit of demons, a bit of heroes, a bit of giants, and a bit of dragons each, a slightly different mix at the start of the game. It'd be very interesting to see Extreme mix is like someone bringing in all demons to start with, or mostly demons, so you get lots of spell points each turn, and you have that sort of extended ability. But I don't know, it's probably not such a great idea, because really you want to recruit characters, and you need light to get a good chance in the recruitment. So that's kind of the game in a nutshell. I don't think there's anything more I need to explain. Oh yeah, if you, as a wizard, you find you're losing, you can run off the board. You've lost the game, but at least you're still alive. There's also another, you can gain a partial victory if 5 turns pass without any combat result other than no effect. Any player can call an end game. Then you total the strength of your armies. So that stops like a stalemate, you know, boring, I'm running after you, you're running after me happening. Very good idea. So simple rules. I mean, there's lots of words here, but to anybody who's used to hex and counter games, this is all going to be very simple stuff. I don't know about the advanced rules. It just introduces magic items. Every neutral hero carries one. So that would just be sort of more twists to anybody who's already got bored with the basic game, which I think would take a long time to happen because, as I said, it's a simple concept. Create terrain, it has a certain cost increasing at range from you, and you can destroy that terrain. And 2 simple types of terrain, but it gives, and then combined especially with the gates, it gives you great possibility for ingenious maneuvers. So that's taken us 16 3/4 minutes. I'm going to spend the rest of the half an hour I thought I would dedicate on the video to this, to not doing a sort of blow-by-blow account, but giving you some commentary on play as it happens.